Welcome back to the All Ball Podcast, where it is all ball all the time. You are here with your host, Sean and Isaiah. This is episode number 52, and Isaiah has a question for me today about 6 players, and I'm going to go ahead and give their outlooks for the season. And then I have a question for Isaiah about 5 different teams and their over-under for wins this season. But before all that, of course, the question of the day. Isaiah, how you feeling today, man?
Man, so many conflicting emotions. On one hand, this is the 52nd episode, which officially marks 1 year worth of episodes. And then on the other hand, we have unfortunately lost an NBA pillar today. Bill Russell has passed away, so prayers out to his family, the Celtics organization, the whole NBA world, honestly.
Yes, rest in peace to Bill Russell, top 5 player, one of the best players ever in the world, and just so many achievements, 11 rings, 5 MVPs, and just so many more accolades. But let's go ahead and just get into our topics for the episode. Isaiah, let's go ahead and get into yours first. So go ahead and start with yours.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the, I'll say, least impressive player and work our way up. So the first player I will be asking you about is James Wiseman.
So my outlook for James Wiseman this year is, honestly, I'll say this. Out of all the players that I know you're going to name, James Wiseman is definitely the most wild card one out there. I'm not sure what his role will be on this Warriors team. You know, will he be a starter? Will he come off the bench? Will he even be seeing that many minutes? But if I had to guess, I'm going to say that he's going to start on the bench to start the season. He'll probably be getting around 24 minutes per game. You know, probably like a 6th, 7th man type of guy. And about midway through, I think he'll be having an okay season, nothing great. They'll probably want to try to transition him to a starter if he's doing well enough to where they're in that championship hunt again, and he could be of use. But as for stats, I'm going to predict that he'll average around, off the bench, he'll probably start with about, let's go 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist.
Okay.
And then once he goes to starter, he'll probably go around to 14.5 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists.
Okay. You went very in depth with that. I like that. And I want to say that I'm glad that you settled on him starting on the bench, because personally, after the way Looney played this past playoffs, I don't think there's any way he sits the bench. So, yeah, I like that you were like, okay, he's probably going to start off on the bench and maybe work his way to the starting lineup.
Right. Plus, I think the Warriors team just in general still does a lot better with that small ball group out on the floor rather than having a traditional 5. Well, not a traditional 5, because that's not what really James Wiseman is, but
if
still
anything, Looney is more of a traditional 5.
More of a, I guess, taller 5,
okay.
I guess you could say.
And then also, Looney just knows the system way better.
Right.
All right, but moving on. For our next player, he wouldn't be as low on this list many years ago, but due to where he is in his career, the next question is, how will John Wall look this season?
In all honesty, I think my John Wall expectations for this season are going to be pretty low. I don't think he'll average more than 13 points. I think with Kawhi coming back and Paul George should be ready by beginning of the season, right? Because he's still coming off an injury. So both of those guys coming off injury, I still think they'll come back fine. But I don't think John Wall should even be like another option other than just being that playmaker, because that's what the Clippers have needed for over the last 2 years.
Hmm.
I mean, they've had guys like Reggie Jackson, Pat Beverly, but none of those guys are really true playmakers. I don't know if I'd call John Wall a true playmaker, but I think he's better, a better playmaker than both of those guys.
I would. I'd say he's a true playmaker.
You would?
I'd say he's a playmaker that also scores a lot.
Okay. Well, we both agree that he's a great playmaker.
Mm.
But so my outlook for him, I definitely think he'll start over Reggie Jackson. But he might be like back and forth with him also off the bench.
Okay.
I just don't know if John Wall is going to go for that. I mean, at this point of his career, I don't know if he has the leverage to even say whether he wants to come off the bench or not. But for my stats for John Wall, I'll say 13 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists
Okay.
for the whole season.
Okay. Not bad. Not bad. One thing I do want to note is actually we did make a mistake in there. Paul George actually isn't injured. The whole reason that he didn't play in that last game that the Clippers had for their season was because of health and safety protocols. So he's actually going to be healthy for the season.
Okay.
All right, but moving on to our next player. It's kind of tough to settle between which of these two should come next, but because we've routinely seen this player not be impressive in the playoffs, he's going to be the next one. Ben Simmons, our favorite player.
Even though James Wiseman was, I would say, the wild card out of all these guys, I think Ben Simmons also might be the hardest to predict.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's been, almost 2 years since we've seen this man hoop?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half. Man. So, to start, I definitely think that if he does start at the beginning of the season, if he does begin to play at the beginning of the season, I think he's an instant starter. I think that's pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
As for his stat line, though, I think that all depends on the situation with KD and Kyrie
Mm-hmm.
and, what they get traded for, if they even get traded at all. But let's just say KD and Kyrie stay.
Okay.
I'm going to go his stat line. Oh, man. 16.
Okay.
No. I think that's being a little generous. I'll go 14. I'll go 14. Let me chill out because this man hasn't played basketball in a while.
I was really
Let's go.
trying to hold it in.
Let's go 14 points.
Okay.
14 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that.
I just don't know, whether he's going to be Ben Simmons whenever, he was playing with Philadelphia or the Ben Simmons that everyone clowns. It's just been so long.
Or maybe if the NBA world is lucky, he might come out as a whole new Ben Simmons 2.0.
Like shooting threes?
I don't even necessarily think he has to shoot, but maybe he just plays with more offensive aggression.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. It's been so long since we've seen him play, and we don't know the changes that he's really made in his game. Yeah, we've seen a couple clips, but they're of him hitting threes and stuff. Like you said, we don't even know if that's going to be happening in game, and he still has to take a backseat to KD and Kyrie. So other than his defense, which I'm pretty sure will be there still, and his playmaking, he's not going to be looked at to be that kind of scorer.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. And the next player?
All right. Our next player is Jamal Murray.
All right, Jamal Murray, who hopefully can stay healthy this season. I think Jamal Murray is going to come back pretty strong.
Okay.
I don't know about bubble Jamal Murray, but I think somewhere around that range. I think he'll probably average about 19 points, 3 rebounds and like 5 assists. I just think that it's going to be really easy to transition back into the game when you got a teammate like Jokic who can set you up for success. Um, I think he'll start off the season slow though, but around 20 games in, 25 games in, I think he'll pick it up.
Okay. That's fair enough, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, he's been out of the game even longer than longer than John Wall, longer than Ben Simmons, James Wiseman, all of them. So
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the one who's the biggest, I want to say, buffer for adjustment, where he has the largest period where he's going to need to try and adjust back,
Mm-hmm.
especially coming off of an ACL at that. So,
Right.
yeah. But moving on to our next player, we have Zion Williamson.
Now, I feel like you know my thoughts on Zion, and I don't have like no hate for him or anything like that. Not like I do LeBron. I don't even hate LeBron. I just really just don't like him. But my thoughts on Zion are so conflicted because of the sample size that we've seen from him.
Mhm.
It's only been what 84 games over what 3 years, I think.
I think it's 86, but still, that's not much
It's
better.
not much. No. So obviously he'll come back. I'm pretty sure he'll still be the number one star on the team for the Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
For his stats, though, this is where I don't know. The man hasn't played since when? It's been
Sometime in the 2020 season.
so almost 2 years. If I had to guess for his stats, I'm gonna go 22, 7, and 4. And he might even come back and be an all-star.
Okay. Really, I think I'd put him at 25, just
25
because,
points.
yeah, because I think, like, that's definitely within his ability.
Mm,
And I think all this time that he's taken off has just been more of a making sure that he's healthy, rather than is he actually healthy question mark. It's more of trying to solidify it and then try and get into better condition, shape, and all of that. So I think
I mean,
he might be good.
really, I would hope so that that's what this time is for. Because am I not wrong that he had a clause in his contract where he has to be under a certain weight limit now?
Yes, that is. I'm not sure if it was said. I think it said body fat percentage.
I think it was both body fat
Wow.
and weight limit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're really pressuring this man to not be what he is.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on to our final player here.
All right.
This man, I'm honestly not even sure if he actually plays basketball anymore. But yeah, we have Kawhi Leonard.
All right, for Kawhi Leonard, I have no other choice but than to say that I think he'll come back very Kevin Durant like.
Okay.
Off an injury, a very major injury at that, but just come back exactly the same. Like, he's going to come back as Kawhi Leonard the Claw.
Okay.
Same defense, same, great scoring. I just don't know whether or not his minutes will be what it should be to start the season.
Okay. And I have to agree there. I pretty much say for certain that his minutes won't be what they're supposed to be. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, even the best players in the world, when they get injured, they always come back on a minutes restriction. So to start the season, he'll absolutely be on a minutes restriction, because a lot of players get on a minutes restriction more so for the injury. But we're talking about Kawhi, who will have the injury on top of absolutely not being conditioned to play his minutes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have to be on an even longer minutes restriction there.
Right. For my stat line for him, I really think this is going to be the most flexible stat line out there for all the players that we've talked about.
Okay.
But I'm going to say to start the season, it'll be around 18 points. But once, 25, 30 games in, he's going to hit that mark to even like get better to where he's like fully back to Kawhi Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll jump up to about 24 points per game.
Okay.
But like I said, the defense should be there. I think it just depends on the minutes situation, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm. And really, I think because Kawhi's minutes are going to be the way they're going to be, that might actually give a slight boost to John Wall scoring to start the season.
That's also true. I didn't think about it like that, as in like he wouldn't start the season automatically.
Mm-hmm.
But that might be true, yes.
But all right, that is all 6 players.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get on to these 5 teams. So, first team I have in mind is the Atlanta Hawks. 2 seasons ago in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Where around do you think they finish? I'm going to throw out a number and you say over, under, then kind of talk about them.
Okay.
So, for the Atlanta Hawks, 44 wins.
44. I'm going to say over. And I think the acquisition of DeJounte Murray is what solidifies that.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking a real big game now that he's been traded. He's absolutely disrespecting the Spurs. And he's the way that he talks about the Spurs, he makes it seem like he's going to absolutely help get these Hawks back to that Eastern Conference final level. So with him being there, they still have John Collins on the roster for the foreseeable future, but who knows what happens? Things can change. And so I think with that big 3 there, they could absolutely make some noise in the East.
I'm glad you touched on the John Collins situation because I think that really kind of is a big component to see where they actually finish.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably the 3rd best player. Well, between him and Capella, I think they're tied for the best 3rd player on that team.
Yeah, I think, Capella, it's more so for the defensive end, and then for Collins, it's for the offensive end.
Right. All right, so to the next team, the Portland Trailblazers. And Dame, let's remember Dame missed a significant amount of time last year.
Yeah, he sure did.
So full Portland, full Dame for season if he's healthy. 40 wins.
Oh, absolutely over. Absolutely over. I think assuming, like you said, healthy Dame for the full season and Anthony Simons turning into basically CJ McCollum too. Yeah, I think that duo can absolutely do at least decent enough to get a net neutral or positive win season and not a negative win season.
Yeah. I'm very in between on whether I think they're going to do well or not this season. And like I said, I think it depends on Dame's health. But the growth of Anthony Simons, like you said, is going to be something that's really fun to watch and how it plays in the Trailblazers' success.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Nurkic, I think he might have his best season so far.
Okay.
That's just a wild prediction. I don't know why. I have no reason as to why. I'm just calling it. Just to say, if he does, I called it.
It's just the 6th sense.
Yes. All right, to the next team. Minnesota Timberwolves. Over or under 50 wins?
Mm. Ooh, 50 wins is a big number. Man. You see, here's how I'm going to give you my thought process on this one.
All
Do
right.
I think that this Timberwolves team is better than OKC the last season they had Russ and PG? And I have to say that I do think this team is better than that.
Mm,
So I will say that they're over 50 wins.
okay. And I also have to ask, where in seeding do you think they are?
Let's see, okay, because the Suns, regardless of what happened in the playoffs, they're definitely going to be a top seeded team. The Warriors are going to be a top seeded team, assuming health permits. The Grizzlies haven't gotten worse, so they're still going to be fighting up there. So I say that they're going to be around the 4th to 5th seed.
Okay. I think that's very doable for them with the growth of Anthony Edwards and addition of Gobert. All right, well, let's get on to these last two teams. The New York Knicks. Very wild card team 2 years ago. Very disappointing last year. So over or under 35 wins?
35 is crazy, but I say slightly over. I don't think that they pass 40, but I think they're somewhere in between 35 and 40.
Okay. I just don't know, man. I just don't feel like Julius Randle can go back to that, you know, that two
Mm-hmm.
that form that he was in 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I say they're somewhere between 35 and 40. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't think that a team where RJ Barrett is your best player is even getting into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the last team, very, very wild card team. The Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh man.
Over or under 41 wins? Are they above or below a 500 team?
Oh man. Oh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. But man, I'm gonna say ever so slightly under.
Oh,
Oh man, it was tough. It was really tough. Like I think they're gonna be somewhere in this range of like barely over, barely under, somewhere around there. And
mm,
it's just simply because they've made no significant changes to the roster. So they're essentially just trying to run it back.
right. So for myself, I was gonna say slightly over, just about
Mm-hmm.
2 wins, but that's only depending on the health of Anthony Davis.
Okay, and I have to agree with that. Anthony Davis is a crucial part to the success of this team, as we saw with their 2020 championship. So I think his health is going to be the biggest question mark of what this team does. And then also, what role does Westbrook play? Does he take a lesser role in order to minimize his damage to the team?
I would hope so, just for the sake of, NBA, the NBA community just not tearing this man apart and slandering him all over the place. But yeah, I think that he has to be one of those guys that's addition by subtraction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's gonna be it. If you have nothing, no other further comments for any of those teams.
Nope, that's it.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap things up. If you enjoyed the podcast and the episode, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe and comment down below. Isaiah, last comments?
You know the usual. Just share the podcast with as many people as you can.
All right, we will catch you on the next episode.